Hey YouTubers, this is the GSTV viewer coming at you with a special video discussion for you guys today. Now, this won't necessarily be a rant on a particular TV station necessarily, at least not to that certain extent, but this will be a topic video discussing about my thoughts on the Disney replay, or what is now known as That's So Throwback. So, Disney replay came out at a time where Nickelodeon was having their success with their classic Nick block with the 90s Are All That, or which is now known as Splat. So Disney, went out their way and tried to create their own block devoted to some of their past programs. And so, thus, in turn, would be Disney Replay, which came out in 2013. And a lot of the shows that were featured contained most of their original content from the Disney Channel, especially in the early mid 2000s. Most notably, the shows such as Lizzie McGuire, Even Stevens, Phil of the Future, That's So Raven, Hannah Montana, Corey in the House, Kim Possible, and a couple other shows to make that I didn't make note of, but those were the notable TV shows that were featured on the Disney Replay block. And before I upload this video, it turns out that when I was researching it, that Disney Replay had been removed from the Disney Channel lineup and has now moved over to Freeform, which used to be ABC Family, as their 2 hour block as That's So Throwback, named after the hit TV show That's So Raven. So, when I look at some of the shows that were featured on it, I mean, it's not necessarily, judging the shows if they were good or bad, but just, I look at the lineup and I really feel that Disney could really go out their way and really showcase more material, try to be a little more creative with their programming block, especially if you compare it to what, Nickelodeon in recent years have been doing with the Splat, and be more fan interactive and changing around the schedule here and there, maybe do like special events. um I think that was kind of one of the things that like Disney Replay sort of lacked, was just the lack of original bumpers, or just the overall quality of the block just feels a little bland, and it's just a throwaway block just to devote some of their past shows, and not really um, really showcasing what the Disney Replay or That So Throwback block could have had. So, and then you even factor in some of the problems I had with this Disney's attempt at a nostalgia block, is the fact that they just only seem to restrict themselves to only the Disney Channel original programs. And the furthest you could go back is during the days of the Even Stevens and the Lizzie McGuire period. But for some reason, Disney just pretends that anything that came out before 2000 just didn't exist for some reason. I mean, they still acknowledge like some of their past history to an extent, showcasing like classic movies like The Little Mermaid or Lion King or even Aladdin, the Toy Story movies. So they do acknowledge some of those movies. Well, at least Freeform shows them like once in a while. But when it comes to what Disney Replay or That So Throwback has aired, it just doesn't really seem to really reach its full potential when they're airing some of Disney's past properties. And when I mean Disney's past properties, I don't mean like TV shows or movies that came out like 5 years ago or 10 years ago. I'm talking about like, because Disney is such a big monopoly, is such a massive entertainment company that's been around for the past 50 plus years or so, tracing back to Walt Disney and his aspiration of being an artist, and creating all these sorts of cartoons and classic characters that we all know today, most notably Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, Donald Duck, Goofy, Pluto, Daisy Duck. Um, some of the notable classic Disney cartoons and even the characters that I mentioned. Um, and even some of the movies that really propelled them into stardom with, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Sleeping Beauty, um, Bambi later on. Let's see. Even fast forwarding in the late 80s, going the early 90s, you had, like I mentioned, about Little Mermaid, Aladdin, the Toy Story movies, Lion King, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Hercules. Just a lot of material that Disney has created throughout the past 50 plus year history, and they just got such a big lineage that for some reason Disney, or the Disney Replay, or That's So Throwback, just doesn't really seem to acknowledge, or just don't seem to really go out their way to airing some of their really 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 older material. Now granted, I can understand, they're, the target audience of that block are, probably weren't alive when those TV shows came out, or some of the movies that were out. I mean, well, granted, they still air the movies that I mentioned, but as far as like the TV shows, I mean, some of them haven't really been on the air since like, when they used to have like Toon Disney, where they would air some of their Disney in the afternoon cartoons. They would show like reruns of some of those cartoons from like the early mid '90s with stuff like DuckTales, Darkwing Duck, Gargoyles, Timon and Pumbaa, the Aladdin cartoon, um, and then you also have the Hercules cartoon. I think that was, no, the Hercules cartoon was like after Disney at the afternoon had already ended. One Saturday morning, shows like Pepper Ann, Recess, The Weekenders, Buzz Lightyear. I think Buzz Lightyear of Star Command aired on that block, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see, Lloyd in Space, I think was another one. So around that time frame, that's the some of the content that Disney Channel, as far as, well, not Disney Channel, but just Disney in general, have produced over the years. But for some reason, when it came to the Disney Replay block, it's like they just neglect a lot of those certain TV shows I mentioned, and it just kind of scratches my head. It's just asking me why they, don't air any of those stuff. Even some of the original Disney Channel original shows. I mean, I'm talking about shows that came out, before 2000. Like, most notably the first Disney Channel original show they showed with Flash Forward. It was a short-lived TV show that ran from 1995 to 1997. Why don't they air that show? So weird. Sci-fi drama, one of Disney's attempts at serialized drama. How's that show not on the block, or not even on the That's So Throwback block? Um, Famous Jet Jackson. A couple years back, after news broke out that, Lee Thompson Young had passed away, why didn't Disney go out their way to showcase a marathon of the Famous Jet Jackson? For all the flack that I give out to the '90s or all that, I mean, one of the things that they did get right was, they went out their way to acknowledge the actress that played Chucky, and they would show marathons of Rugrats devoted to a lot of episodes devoted to Chucky. So why didn't Disney do like a similar thing by, commemorating Lee Thompson Young by showcasing a marathon of the Famous Jet Jackson? I just don't understand that. Let's see. They had the jersey on. I don't know if anyone remembers the jersey, but it was kind of like, Quantum Leap, but with, these high school characters that get to leap into some of their favorite sports athletes. Why don't they air like I mentioned? It's like, why don't they air some of the like really really older stuff, like stuff that came out before, the TV shows like Lizzie McGuire and Even Steven? Why doesn't Disney just really embrace some of their older content throughout the past 50 years? I mean, the point I'm trying to say is like Disney should really showcase some of their older materials that really capture the essence of what Walt Disney had envisioned. And that's all I ask of them. Whether if it's good or bad, that's all subjective. But one of the things I really liked about the Splat is that they're really going out their way with Nickelodeon going out their way to showcase even some of their really obscure TV shows. Um, that's one of the things I really liked about what the Splat has been doing on Nickelodeon or T Nick, but close, just basically Nickelodeon in general. So that's really my discussion video for today. Just kind of really vent out some of my thoughts on the Disney replay slash That's So Throwback blog. So if you enjoy some of the shows that are currently on the blog, more power to you, exactly. So that's all I have to say for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Leave down your comments in the comment section below. Tell me what your thoughts on the current state of this programming block is going through. And till next time, this is the GSTV viewer signing out.